Welcome to Between Two Barns, the Recovery Edition. Today you'll meet fellow Auburn addicts attempting to recover from the pain of addiction. Charlie Barner, Shark, Barner Supply, and Rizzle. We gather today in the need of recovery and support. Stop, share, and heal.
Yeah, so, like I say, 2 days ago, that does numbers. And I don't make light of recovery because I've been there, done it, 5 years sober. So don't anybody take that as any kind of slight against addiction and recovery. But originally I was going to start with the whole, if it had been 2 days ago, a spiel about how it all started in 1977 when I was born into the right side of this rivalry.
Yeah.
And experienced the 80s and Bo Jackson and Pat Dye, and now that this is the way that it's affecting my life and family now.
You feel abusive for raising your children as Auburn fans.
Well, yeah, man. The other day, I saw a few people in particular post, and they're like, "My kids are destroyed by this game," and you just feel bad, man. You feel like, oh, this is what we did today. So yeah, the recovery edition after the Missouri game, which I'm still not quite recovered by. I mean, like, it's weird because I've been reading different stuff over the past 2 days, listening to some stuff. Hugh did his press conference yesterday, and I watched all that and listened to what he had to say. There's still some things that are funny to me. Now, I'm not one of those people that wants to come in here and say, fire Hugh or anything like that. And I'm not. I come at this from I'm a firefighter, and I call myself an artist if I could, but an apparel guy for a team that I love. So I come at it from a casual fan point of view. And so some of my questions and points are just that they're just discussing stuff, and maybe people can benefit from some of that is my thought in this whole process when we even started it. It's because I was watching podcasts and trying to figure out some stuff, and I had questions that nobody could answer. And I thought, well, what if I could ask it? And there's some people that can answer it, and it can be good for everyone involved, and then discuss sports with cool guys at the same time. But that game is one of those things where they're just saying, oh, we found another way to lose. Auburn keeps finding ways to lose. Going back to, so there was a huge thing that I just want to throw out, like in the beginning. I said it to Rizzle before, and then we can get into like what you thought about the game, and then maybe Hugh's press conference. But I don't think it was so much we found a way to lose. But okay, so we scored on the punt, the muff punt, which was a crazy play. I mean, the punching the ball out was just crazy. That was unbelievable to see that. So that wasn't an offensive touchdown. That was a special teams touchdown. We still hadn't put together quite everything that it kind of is being – it's not being portrayed, but it's not like, oh, we had it all together, but then we fell apart in the fourth quarter. Because without a few things here and there that kind of fell our way, we still didn't have it all together. They talk about that we were going to go to Jarquez more. They did spread it around. We went to him 19 times on the run, twice on a pass. Everybody said, well, at least we doubled his touches, but that was 21 touches, and that was double. That's still crazy to me. And that brings up some questions that I have just from a fan perspective in a little bit. Peyton had 11 rushes
for 18 yards.
Yeah, and then we use some of the younger guys, which the rumor is they're trying to keep some of the younger backs happy because they're going to need them next year. They need them to be getting touches this year and see value in what they're experiencing. But between that muff punt that saved us, that was amazing. And then the reverse side of the coin is when we get down and we're first and goal from just inside the 10 and we're pass, then we have to pass because we're sacked. And then Magoo misses a field goal, which I feel horrible for the kid because he's been put in a position this year that's just – he came in as a freshman. He actually walked on. I followed him at Auburn High School because I graduated from Auburn High School. I was a big fan of his, but I mean, he's in a tough position too because now the weight on his shoulders is huge because he's become – they're trying to have him become one of our primary offensive guys basically, and that's a lot on him. Like he comes in first year to be kicking off and
18 years old.
Yeah, at 18 years old in the SEC. But the thing that bothered me about those three downs was that everybody's like, well, if he'd have caught that pass, then we're good.
He should have caught it.
He should have caught it. but why are we going to a fade in the corner of the end zone, 1st and 9? And like,
Well, Freeze talked about in this conference. I mean, that's the way he's been successful his whole career is by getting that first down and taking that shot. And I mean, well, we'll get to that in a minute. But
yeah, because that
if you don't have the guys, man.
Okay, so yeah, you both just hit exactly what I wrote down. The two of the big things that I took away from the press conference that we'll get to is basically the two things y'all said right there. And it's frustrating to me because, well, I want to get to that in a minute because I asked Riz a question and then I want to pose to you the same question. But so Sharp, on the Missouri game, what did you walk away feeling like?
Like an Auburn fan has felt for the past greater part of 25 years. I felt Peyton Thorne had another day where he ran into his own player and dropped the ball.
Which he was holding that ball by his kneecap.
I've watched that play 3 times. I still don't see what the heck he was thinking. He did throw for a touchdown. Cam Coleman burned somebody Cam Coleman should be burning somebody every week, but no, obviously he can't run intermediate routes right now.
Right.
I think the play call, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. That play call, those play calls you were talking about, that first shot was an excellent shot and it was actually a good pass. I think the mistake there was the receiver that ran the route. Mm-hmm. Why would you take your second smallest receiver and run that route? You throw that to Cam or, anybody else, in Camden, and they got a 5-inch higher. That's right in their basket then,
So I agree with that 100%. And that goes into kind of what Rizzle was saying a while ago that I have written down to get into.
Yeah.
But overall, with defensive touchdown, that puts us at 10-21. The Cam Coleman was a breakdown in a defense that didn't normally break down. We caught them in like a little speed play, basically, where they didn't get the players in they wanted to get in. So really, they gave us that touchdown with Cam Coleman, 47 yards, I believe it was. So really, we should have been 6. It should have been 21-6, but then take out that. That Cook didn't play for most of the game, and when he did play, which was very little, he still outperformed Peyton by a lot. So there was one offensive touchdown. It was a broken coverage touchdown, which I'll take them all day long, but it wasn't like we did anything special.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at.
So I mean that game probably should have been. Should have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 33 or 35-6. This is my takeaway from that game. That and Crawford, and I forgot the other little freshman cornerback. Those are guys that are going to be good. Crawford got SEC Defensive Player of the Week. I mean, they're going to be good players if they stay at Auburn.
Yeah. Rizzle, what was your real takeaway from it? Like, with not just losing draft, like in that tragic way, but overall.
I mean, Hugh kind of mentioned it in his press conference too, man. It's just like we just find a way to lose every game. Like we're not putting ourselves in a position to win. They're winnable games. I don't know, if it's all the play calling or the play. Like I said earlier, man, you're trying to force plays with players that you just don't have the studs in those positions, man. Like I would have totally put a different wide receiver. You're throwing that route in the end zone. Like put somebody in there, man. Put some height in there. Yeah. Even KLS, man, that dude is a baller. Like, let him run that route.
He'd have caught it.
He'd have caught it.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have gone through his arms outreach. Like, I feel sorry for the kid. He sent a text to everybody. That's on me. I mean, it's not just all on you, though, man. Like, there's a lot of plays that we missed in that game. So you can't just say that one play caused the whole outcome of that game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did kind of leave out, not to step on you, Rizzle.
No, you good, man.
I did kind of leave out, like, my main thing that I noticed was the one thing they wanted coming out of fall camp, they did not want to have to move. I just drew blank on the left guard out to
Percy. Oh,
no, the left guard they have to move out to tackle because of Percy.
Percy, yes.
I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but they didn't want to do that, and they wanted Percy. And Percy has all the abilities of being a great football player, but that offensive line was pretty bad against Missouri. It's the worst I've seen this year. I've seen them play this year. And for them to say that they can't, that for some reason golly, I can't remember. It's Wade that move out. It's Wade they move out, right?
Okay, I can't remember. I can look it up, but I cannot remember.
I'm
right
pretty sure
now.
it's Wade that they move out for
I
Percy.
think you're right.
But Percy, to hear that is kind of disheartening that he can't handle changes in protection and offense. That if he's doing the same thing, he's great, but if there's any changes, he's lost, and that's kind of disheartening. Because you know what, that's my overall. That's what I'm gonna leave. That's what I'm gonna leave as my overall pick this time, or my overall say in it is that this was several games in here. Coaching should have corrected a lot of these issues. We can keep complaining about what's happening, but I'm really let down with the coaching staff at this point. That was a winnable ball game. All these except for Georgia have been winnable ball games. And
It's just like they can't put the guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's a play calling issue. I think it's who they hitch their wagon to quarterback wise, and I think it's the built-in excuse. I think they went into the season going next year.
Yeah, so I've heard this week that that excuse has been like a theme of the older guys too, who are not going to be here next year, but that they're basically, and you could tell by a player that you've brought up so many times this season already, and his performance on Saturday of basically getting out of the way of contact or trying to, that's kind of been used by them as well next year. Like this is what we have right now. Y'all just gonna have to get over it type thing.
Yeah, there's one of them that's like we're forgotten, and there's two that are like we're still gonna go play in the NFL. We're just losing money per week.
Yeah. So they're basically like, yeah, we're going to lose. That's what we do. We lose right now. So, and then there's been like 2 weeks ago,
that's a terrible attitude to have, man.
Because, well, yeah. And so like 2 weeks ago, there were some rumors about it. And then this week, there's been some people that can actually willing to put their own names on saying that talk to the program saying that that's a thing where some of the young guys and some older guys are kind of clashing a little bit over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a terrible attitude.
I don't know if you're in that situation. Like, let's say you're Hunter. Think about what you've been through coaching wise. Yeah, what you've tolerated to stay at Auburn. He's an Auburn man. This is not an NIL dude. This is an Auburn man. And he deserved this year. He deserved better this year. He deserved more touches to get where he could just increase his draft stock. I think that would have been the best thing that Freeze could have done this year as a coach. Mm-hmm. If you were going to toss the season away, because he's still playing a lot of young players. I told you he would, and he did on Missouri. He played a ton of young players. Mm-hmm. But that could have been the thing that he could have done this year to be an Auburn man and really help the program would been to get Fairweather some catches and get Hunter a lot more activity so that they both could increase their draft stock instead of their falling. Milk Hyper is lowering them every week.
Oh yeah, I know.
So, and it's not their fault. So
I actually checked it because I was going to use Jarquez's draft stock for a point, and he's so far down at this point, and it's crazy. It's so sad to see where he's at right now.
Went from top 15 to, and that's millions that we're costing. Hugh Freeze is costing, and recruits see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And your recruits see, hey, he cost this dude $15-20 million.
Yeah.
When you're a kid and you want to play in the NFL.
Yeah. So the question that I texted to Riz and that I was going to leave you hanging on is, if you had to define what an offensive genius is, what is an offensive genius?
You know it when you see it.
Okay. Yeah,
it's true.
So
honestly, an offensive genius. Did you watch Indiana play this weekend?
Yeah.
That is an offensive genius. I can never remember the coach's name. That is an offensive genius.
Because we've called Gus Malzahn an offensive genius at one point. And Hugh Freeze came in as being touted as an offensive genius. And this isn't a dig at anybody. This is me trying to understand things, because there's things that I, as a casual fan, don't understand. If you're a genius, then you're not a genius at just this sliver of offense, right?
Well, let's be truthful about it. Malzahn could considerably be an offensive genius. It's just his offense got figured out pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Now, his national championship, where he won as an offensive coordinator, he basically just said, okay, I've got Cam Newton, the best player arguably to ever play the game, behind probably another Auburn player, Bo Jackson or Herschel Walker, somewhere in there. But Cam was special. We'll admit that. we're gonna ride Cam. But his offense was unique and special, and he was an offensive genius. It just got figured out really quickly about 2 or 3 years in. And he wasn't. He was recruited. He was more worried about the skill players than the line players. So I'll give him that. And he still shows flashes at UCF this weekend. He showed a flash.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic with each other. How many offenses has Hugh Freeze put together that's won an SEC championship? None. Zero.
Yeah.
How many national championships does he have?
0.
Zero.
We're hanging our hats on the fact he beat Nick Saban twice.
Yep.
There's not a lot of coaches now. This has been my argument on X all week. There's not a lot of coaches that are willing to come in and deal with Auburn's dysfunctional family and boosters. So you have to kind of take what you can get. That's the problem with the Auburn football program.
That's true.
I don't agree with Hugh Freeze's morals, and whatever. I forgive him for whatever he wants to be forgiven for. I think he's an awesome dude. I have not interviewed him, so that's nothing I can speak to personally. But I think we're asking a little bit too much of a guy. He didn't really recruit all that amazingly well at Ole Miss. His offense isn't special, like I mentioned. It's one of the more simple offenses to run. And he's supposedly the quarterback whisperer because he put Malik Willis in the NFL. And I don't. Where are Auburn fans getting that? Two things. Where are Auburn fans getting that he was supposed to be a great coach immediately, or even in time, which it might still happen. But I'm just saying, where are you getting that theory? And why do you have that assumption that we're failing somehow when this should have been? This is market failure. We should have known when this was going to take a while. Not because of Harsin, but because of Malzahn and because of the coach we just got. No offense, I'm not going to run anybody down. And then we should be realistic with ourselves as where we're at as a program for our history. 124 years, we're 20th. We're tied for 19th behind some weird schools, and we have the most losses in the top 20 schools. I do not get why Auburn fans believe that we are a storied national championship winning program that deserves 10 winning seasons every year.
Yeah.
Pat Dye, there's a great, if you look for it, and I'm an Auburn fan. Y'all know I'm a diehard Auburn fan. I mean, there's a Pat Dye where he speaks on this eloquently right after he retired. He has some ex-players with him on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where he explains what Auburn is. And I don't know where these fans come from. I think they must have just showed up in 2010 because they obviously didn't go through the pain. My first game that I ever went to was Bo Jackson. I think it was Bo Jackson's first or second game, somewhere in there. So they don't know the pain of a lifetime of being an Auburn fan. It's like they just picked it up in the last 10 years. And I just don't know where they think that we're that blue blood program. We're on line with Clemson and Virginia, West Virginia. We're somewhere in there. If we want to do better, then we're going to have to make changes at the administrative level, beyond the coaching level, to get to that point where we can have a program like a Georgia or an Alabama. Because if we up that arms race and Hugh Freeze accomplishes what he's trying to accomplish with these rating classes, everybody else is just going to match it.
Yeah.
So you're still going to have to coach them, because I'm going to throw one name out there. I mean, Jimbo Fisher stayed in the top 3 every year at Texas A&M recruiting. Couldn't coach a player to save his life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is feeling like and looking like to me. Y'all can tell me differently.
Well, so that's why I was asking Rizzle to come in with like what he would define as an offensive genius, is because to me, he was touted as that. Maybe I'm quoting it wrong, but I mean, to me, that was the big thing, is that his offensive mind is what we were going to need. We needed.
It was touted, sorry for stepping on you too. I'm getting a little bit of lag here. He was touted as a quarterback whisperer more than an offensive guru. Gotcha. Like Hugh Freeze. I mean, Malzahn was definitely, and he was, like I said, legitimate. He wrote the book on the offense that everybody runs right now. It's just everybody figured it out real quick, especially his style of it. But Hugh Freeze never was like the offensive genius. He was just the quarterback whisperer who could take mediocre to low ability quarterbacks and do something with them, which we've already proved that that's not going to happen because, the Peyton Thorne experiment or ultimatum, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because like Rizzle said a while ago, he would have a different guy on that route, and you said the same thing. And then in the press conference, Hugh says, well, we got Jarko has more touches, but then, we gave him the ball and we needed it and we lost some yardage on that. it still feels like you've got to be able to move the pieces around, and so I don't know. I won't say anybody's name, but it was a radio show I was listening to the other day, and they said, "This is the RPO. Like this, you hired him. This is what you've got. You've got the RPO. That's all you. That's what you have." And it's frustrating to me that when the RPO fails, that if you should be able to, as an offensive mind or your other offensive minds, as a casual fan says, I know you can't redo the whole scheme you've been practiced all spring and summer, but there has to be a way to change stuff around. And especially like you were saying, not have this guy running this important route or not have this over here happening when you've got some puzzle pieces that you can definitely use in different ways. But we just seem to continue sticking with RPO, RPO, RPO.
I'm not gonna. I'm sorry, Rizzle. I'll shut up after this. But I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound bad, but it's ego. But it might be well deserved ego. Like if he really had his players in there, and he really had made the hooked his wagon to Peyton Thorne, which I still understand that he made a business decision there. Hey, we're gonna spend the money on the new guys who are looking pretty good. Hope they don't leave instead of a quarterback. He won't have that decision this offseason. He'll have to go out and set the market for a quarterback. But he wants to run his offense his way. And every time he can't do that, it's taking him back a step further. And I think that is the whole season right there. We don't have enough depth on defense. We're building it, but we don't have enough depth. We have a great defense, but we don't have enough depth. And on offense, we hooked. It's basically it all goes back to Peyton Thorne for me because it's almost like a team. You're on a team, so y'all do things at work, and I was too. And like if one person on the team screws up, then the whole thing kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
So let's say you're a wide receiver, Rizzle, okay, and you're the running back, Barner. So if you've seen Peyton Thorne screw you over 100 times, I hope that language is proper. It's fine. Screw you over 100 times. Rizzle, are you going to run every route as hard as you can?
No.
Are you going to just listen to him and after he's giving you the eyes and everything else 1,500 times over the season, like blaming you for his problems?
Yeah.
Are you going to try? Are you going to lay out for the guy?
No.
All right, Barner, you just lost $10 million in the draft. Yeah. They're saying they're going to get you more touches. It's what, 3-4 more touches than you got last week?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, do you feel like you're going to just bust your tail every play for the,
Yeah.
when he can't set the protection and he's calling plays that you shouldn't be called? He's like, I've got a first down run here. This is something I can put on tape. I'm going back to the game before.
Yeah.
It's fourth and 1. Here's a play I can put on tape because I'm fixing to break this. The more I look at that, and he was going to break that against Georgia. That was going to go for some yards, if not a touchdown.
Yeah. Instead, his film is that he's got his hands up in the air.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, there was one against Missouri where if he would have handed it off to the left-hand side, Jarquez was gone.
Yeah.
And he pulled it and went to the right and got maybe a yard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, he's still calling his own number to the tune of 11 touches. Remember last week I fussed about this. 11 touches for 18 yards.
Yeah.
And I want to include in that, one of them is a 14-yard run. So if you take that out, that's 10 runs for 4 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we just ride or die this thing out. I mean, we went to a couple of different looks this past week. The 2-back set, we were doing some different stuff, having more guys in the backfield. And that way we were handing the ball off, had some blocking going on. That was good, but it's still only, like you said, it still only got Jarquez 2 more touches. It wasn't the way that. So in my head, again, as the casual fan, you've got Jarquez, who's supposed to be one of the best backs in the country. And historically at Auburn, when you've got one of those, they get better as the game gets on because people get tired of being pounded by that guy. So at 19,
that's what we're used to. Yeah.
Yeah. So at 19 carries, you haven't gotten to his most effective part yet. Mm-hmm. And so to say, yeah, we're giving them a few extra carries, you really haven't even gotten to where you need to be for him to be the most effective that he can be.
He's not lathered at 19 carries.
Yeah.
No. 25 carries probably gets him 100 yards, believe it or not.
Right, so the frustrated fan who understands that Hugh Freeze is the coach, I'm not talking scheme, maybe a scheme, but I'm just saying, like, why aren't we changing things? We're just going to ride this thing to the ground.
As
Is
a
that what you're saying?
as a casual fan, what would you change at this point? You're you're 7 games in. What would you change at this point?
Quarterbacks.
The quarterback that should have been done 4 weeks ago, the bye week before, and it's going to happen. They're going to
Yeah.
lose. I mean, say they lose to Kentucky and they're done. They're not bowl. They're not going to be bowl eligible. I think there'll be some changes, more changes in that direction. They should have done it a while back, but what are you going to change at this
I mean, I
point?
see what you're saying. You're this far into the season. It's just frustrating to me that
I mean, he's running an offense that works. Other teams are running it right now, and it's working just fine.
yeah, but the problem. So to me, if you're the guy that's in charge, so I just work a totally different job, and if you're doing something with personnel and it's not working,
You change it.
you don't
You
keep
have to
doing
change.
it. Yeah, you do not keep doing it.
Okay,
So
well,
I come at football from a different point of view, I think.
let's take it back then. He did try to change some things earlier in the season when he thought they were keying in on. Now, I'd noticed this because I started looking for things they can key in on, but defenses were keying early in the season when Hunter was in the game, they were running, and when Austin was in the game, they were throwing the ball. And if you recall, at one game, he started wearing out Austin, and Austin was wearing it out. And then what did Austin do that game, if you recall? He fumbled going into the end zone.
Yes.
Mhm.
It seems like every time, and I'm not out here being a Hugh Freeze defender,
Mm-mm.
but there was personnel issues. There is freshman issues. There are issues. Every time he tries to touch something to fix something like we're talking about doing, it seems to just blow up in his
Backfire.
face.
Yeah.
I mean, we ran like 6 or 7 plays outside of the weird formations that we did that did work, actually. That was the only time that did work. But the offensive line looked horrible. We couldn't line up and blow them off the offensive line. And I know Missouri's got a pretty good defensive line, but their linebackers aren't exactly top of the notch. Neither are their defensive backs.
He did compliment them though.
Well, I mean, what's he going to say?
He's like, they were some good linebackers.
When you throw 30 passes and complete 17 of them, and I think they had the one long one to game, and the rest of them were like 4 yards again. You're line of scrimmage guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not running his offense, and it's not going to get any easier coming up either. And I think you're looking for an answer, and I think the answer is it's just going to take. I think this is the reason he's going to be there a little while longer is because Trevor was bare. We can say Hunter all we want to, and Hunter is used to running on that, but Hunter got his chances. He ran, to say, almost 20 carries, got 57 yards.
Yeah.
He can't do it by himself. He's going to have some help. He did kind of what he said he was going to do. I'm going to give Hunter more carries, and just it wasn't working. He took his shots. Guy drops a touchdown. And that's been the overall theme, and everybody keeps saying Freeze is so awful and his play calling is so awful. And you have been, I've gotten the text. Why is he passing right here? Why is he on the goal? And some of them he's questioned himself. But I think this particular team has him rattled as a coach.
He admitted that this week in the press conference, actually. But no, just to back up for just saying, because you're saying you're not a Hugh Freeze defender. I know, and I'm not a persecutor, but I'm trying to just ask like you say, social media is a wreck, and I just want to get answers to some of the questions that all that brings up. That you, being what you know, can answer those questions. So I lean on you as a source for some of this.
If I had to answer it, I would say, one, he's not going to. Let's be really smart about this for a second and really honest, okay? Does it benefit Hugh Freeze or Auburn University to change his offense midseason to suit players who don't necessarily want to be there or who aren't good enough to be there? Or does it benefit Hugh Freeze and Auburn to go ahead and keep running this offense because these are just basically practices?
Yeah.
You take the losses, you come say the right things after the losses, you rub sackcloth and ashes in your hair, and you got in the back of your head, you're like, I'm getting these guys defensive and offensively. Like every time Coleman runs a route, that's a smart young man. He's figuring it out a little bit better. Every time, I mean, you hope you can keep these guys. Every time Lewis runs a route, it's Simmons. Every time Simmons touches the ball, he's just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's ready to do that with a quarterback yet because that is a give up signal. But if you really think about it truthfully, what he's been doing will probably make us a better program. Even if he's not the coach there, it will probably make us a better program down the road.
See, and
Yeah,
that's the stuff that
I can see that.
I'm
I
not
can
good
see
at.
that.
Especially defensively. Like, I don't think there's going to be defensive changes in the offseason like there has been at Auburn every season. That defense, it's going to be good to go.
Yeah, they were. When you're playing as many plays as our defense has to play, sometimes they're. I mean, by the end of the game, he said they were gassed. They lost their every technique was out the window on the last drive. But I mean, geez, it was an 87-yard drive at the end of the game. They were gassed. So
And he, like Heath mentioned in the press conference about bringing in some of the rookie. He's like, maybe on third down, we're bringing in a couple of the rookie defensive
yeah,
linemen and let them get after it with fresh legs because they got skill. I mean, when he says stuff like that, that's the first thing that he's trying to think about. Like, he can say all he wants to, coach speak wise. This season's gone.
yeah,
It's over.
Like, it was gone a while back, and he knew it. I think he just didn't want to show the fans that he knew it by benching Thorne completely, and he didn't want to let the ego go a little bit. But the season was over. But I think he might try to dial up something to beat Alabama. Because I saw a poll yesterday, and it was like 74%. Would you take Auburn from this point on making a bowl game and losing the Iron Bowl, which I don't know if that's mathematically possible anymore, but
right.
or would you take no more wins except for the Iron Bowl? And it was like 74% like, yeah, if we beat Alabama, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
All right, Rizzle, what would you say to that question?
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't think we can make a bowl game at this point. I mean, you beat Bama, ruin their season, and take it into the off season, man. I think you could ride that high.
So
So
that's what I'm saying. You're one of the ones that would say,
I voted on that, and I voted. I voted to beat Bama. Yeah,
I'm 1,000% that. Just, I mean,
because
it's
it's
like
over,
in
man.
my
This
blood.
season's
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's just in my blood. The way I feel about that team is in my
Oh, me
bones.
too.
Can
And
you?
I
to
mean,
ruin their season, keep them out of the playoffs. Like if they went out, and we keep them out of the playoffs, man, that would just be a win-win and just
yeah.
move forward.
But just let me ask y'all both this question because I'm seeing it in y'all's eyes, and this is the thing that's bothering me about Auburn fans right now. When did you two actually realize this season was over? Because I told you the week before Oklahoma that the season was over.
Yeah, it's an Oklahoma game for me.
Was it for you? Okay,
Yeah,
you weren't around then. But,
honestly.
I mean, I was mentioning it in our sites. I was like, this
It was
season's
this
over.
Missouri game was for me.
That's when you
Yeah,
finally it's like, all right, that's it.
Yeah, I kept
it's
holding
over.
out. Yeah,
And if we go to Kentucky and lose, is it going to hurt you?
no,
Are you still going to be hurt because that's going to be one of the better defenses we played all year? And
I mean,
no.
it's gonna hurt, but
But yeah, but not
it's
like
already
it
hurt.
did.
It's already hurt all season. So
Not
it's.
like
I
the
mean,
Missouri one did.
yeah.
then you look at how bad Oklahoma.
Vandy's gonna hurt. That one's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
That one's gonna sting a little bit.
I don't know. At least we get to watch Pavia. At least we
Yeah.
get to watch Pavia.
Yeah.
I hope we could
Uh,
pull that off just so we can keep making fun of Alabama.
Oh, that would be.
yeah, that'd be
That's
big.
something to look forward to. I forgot about that.
I want to
Uh,
go back real quick because I didn't get to answer about the offensive
Mhm.
guru thing, man. And like you sent me that, and I thought about it today and looked up a few things and just kind of, to me in my mind, like an offensive guru, offensive genius is somebody who is willing to put his kids, no matter who they are, in a position to win, even if it's not in his system. They can build their system around the kids that he has.
That's what I was in my head. That's what that is too.
Yes, because every year you're going to have a different slate of kids, and you may not have the strength that you had the year before. You may lose a senior quarterback, and then you're running with a sophomore. You may lose a couple wideouts, and then you're with a fresh crew of wideouts. Your running back room's going to have turnovers. Like all the positions are having turnover. But if you can put your kids in a position to win, despite what you have and what kind of plays and what kind of system you run, if you put them in a position to win and run plays that they can run and they're good at, that's what I figure is an offensive guru. Because even go back and look, like I was just looking, and I looked at this old link, and this is from 2018, and they said the 10 best offensive masterminds.
Yeah.
Kevin Sumlin, not anymore.
Yeah.
Mike Bobo, not anymore. Chris Peterson, not anymore. Jason Candle at Toledo, not anymore. You know what I mean? Like they
Mike
have, I
Mike
mean,
Bobo's doing Mike Bobo's doing pretty good at Georgia.
Yeah, but he's flopped around, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's
I
been
wouldn't
at
say he's an offensive guru by any
I
Well,
means.
wouldn't say a
can
guru.
can I disagree with both of y'all real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
When y'all say that,
I love
and
it.
I go, well, that's a pretty good point. But then I think if you're going to be an offensive guru, if you're getting hired for that, then you need to be a game changing, and I mean game as far as the overall game of football changing offensive mind. And I think of the Steve Spurriers of the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but the Lane Kiffins of the world. Lane Kiffin is one heck. He might be the brightest offensive mind in the country. He's just an
Jerry
Well,
idiot.
Jerry
well,
Kill is the one that comes to
There
mind
you go. There you go.
yeah.
because
Those
it's what you can take tools from different toolboxes and build something that'll work. That's what is frustrating to me when we have some of the talent that we have is that we should still be better than we are.
see that's once again that's where I was going to go with that. With I was going to disagree.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
but
I
is that you're build if you build like Nick Saban? Why was he so successful? And he went through all these coordinators and all this stuff. Why was he so successful? It wasn't because they arranged things for their players that came in and fit their personnel. He said, "This is how my offense is going to be. We're going to get guys that fit into it. If they do not fit into it, they don't play.
but
They
you
will
also got to
learn to fit
think
in it."
Saban was there long enough. He had to change his system 3 times.
But it,
You have to adjust with the football because football adjusts. The defenses adjust.
and
Why
he
does
did,
Gus not
yeah,
work anymore? You know, like why does Chip Kelly? Why is he not as explosive anymore? Because defenses adjust to that. So you have to be willing to change.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
Saban was the
that,
anti go fast guy, and then all of a sudden he was
Yeah.
going fast.
yeah. Well, and then you saw the quarterback changes there too. He went from I'm not
Mm-hmm.
people I'm not going to mention because I hate their guts, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll say like Mac Brown, who really shouldn't be quarterbacking anywhere, and took him into made him into something. But then he went to these mobile quarterbacks. All of a sudden, he went from game managers to mobile quarterbacks. So like it's Nick Saban is admittedly not an offensive guru whatsoever. He's defensive guru.
Defensive.
What's
So
crazy is they have him on this list at number 2.
I
Yeah.
know because he ran that program so clean that
Yep.
even when the new offensive coordinator came in there, even Lane Kiffin, he was like, "You're going to do what I want done.
Yes.
We're still going to put a running back out there that's going to be great every game. Where you could add a few little wrinkles, but it was still kind of, even though they went sped it up, it was still sort of the pro offense, which is the reason those guys get drafted every year out of Alabama and Georgia. And Bobo's
Yeah.
doing the same thing. I mean, well, Rick,
He had some stud running backs, man. It's easy to when you
yeah.
use them, it's easy to look good.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, he has studs at all positions too, but
and
when
I
you have a
saw,
game manager at running back,
and looked like right now, LSU, you think about Joe Burrow, that was the last great quarterback they had, right? And you don't think that the raging Cajun down there was an offensive mastermind, and
Mm-mm.
you don't think Brian Kelly is either. But they have what five of the six of the top NFL receivers right now are old LSU guys. Like if you want to win football games, you get LSU wide receivers. Is that offensive guru, or is that just you're drafting and you're recruiting to the right position because that's what you do there? And I think that's the thing at Auburn. I think that's what's happening. I'm not saying I disagree with y'all on that point. It's just I'm just telling you that's what's happening. Like we want he wants the big receivers. Lewis doesn't fit that role. Simmons doesn't really fit that role. KLS didn't fit that role, but he's filling a good role.
Yeah.
But Coleman fits that role. Percy fits that role. Camden fits that role. I think that's going to be the three you see out there next year. And
if we can keep him.
he's always we'll keep him. He's always had giant receivers, a great tight end, and a mediocre quarterback that did what he was told to do. Like he never really had a great running back, if you recall.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not high on his list unless it's a quarterback. He liked the quarterbacks that could catch the football. So I think even then you're looking at why isn't he running Hunter more? Well, because this offense isn't designed really. It's an RPO, but it's designed for a different style of running back than what Hunter actually is. Hunter's an Auburn running back, 3 yards in the
Yes.
cloud of dust until he wears you out and then scores some touchdowns. They
Yeah.
didn't fit
People
this
start
off.
getting out of the way. Yeah.
So I don't know what the guru line is. When I think of it, it's like I said, I have to go back to the game changing. The one I can remember the most, Steve Spurrier changed the game of college football. Urban Meyer
I
changed
was
the
going to
game.
say Urban, Steve,
Yeah, those are
even
names.
Malzahn to an extent.
He didn't, but his was easy to. He couldn't
Yeah.
adjust.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. When we're an actual guru, you come in, you change the game, and you can adjust. That's what we're saying.
Well,
Mao Zedong changed the game, and then he wrote the book on it. Literally, you can go buy it. It's a good book, and he couldn't adjust. He still can't. He can't get away from it. And I think
And
that's
that's
what we're.
what has got me freaked out right now is that part, the not
Yeah,
adjusting part.
and I think there's three coaches that right now that all kind of fall off the same tree, and that's just got me nervous. Is Freeze and I'm not going to even try to pronounce his name at Missouri, but that's the reason he won't.
Drinkwitz.
Whatever, but that's the reason he's in the same boat because they won't. They're not going to change. His ego's not going to let him change either. He knows what works for him, and he's going to try to make it work regardless.
Well, and
So,
to add on to that too, though, like a good one's going to be able to make halftime adjustments and not just this ain't working, and I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to beat my head into the ground until it works.
well, is it really that? I mean, because I've seen good offensive adjustments after halftime. They just seem to go away really quickly.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm talking about like Gus, like in not
No.
Freeze. Like I was
Yeah,
talking about like Gus. Like that dude couldn't adjust for anything.
no.
He was going to force his way into making his game plan that week work, no matter what.
But once again, I go back to, hey, we're Auburn football. Let's check ourselves a little bit. We're 2 miracle plays away from playing for 1 national championship in the last 70 years. I mean, it took 2 miracle plays to get us there. We may have the resources, but we don't have the capability of going out and getting a offensive guru. We're going to have to take what we can get until things change. And that's, to me, is the fundamental problem with Auburn.
A couple of things that he said that kind of fall in line with things we've said. He was real supportive. He says he's getting a lot of support from the fan base, which I was surprised to hear him say that. He must not be on social media, but
that is. Yeah. I have something to say about that too.
Okay.
I wonder if he's just talking about fans showing up.
Well, now see, yeah, because we sold out the last few games. I mean, like that's one thing. Maybe it's because the players that are like we talked about, they're used to losing, but we're kind of used to being mediocre right now, so we're still going to keep coming to the games because we're as expected.
Plus, it's a great experience.
It's amazing, yes. But he was saying that he does not have a lot of practice with challenging teams. This is only the second losing record he's had in 30 years.
And the first one he inherited, so.
And I think it was high school.
It was, he inherited and then changed it to a championship team the very next year.
Yeah.
But
So,
I think, like I said, this team's got him frazzled, as we said earlier.
Yeah, he says his play calling is stressful. He's worried about, is this the perfect play? When it used to be he would just call what he thought was right, but now is this the perfect play? Because this can be the one that could burn us if we don't get this play.
And as far as the fan comment goes, I think that was a shot at the social media echo chamber. Because you look at the people that we know and follow on Twitter, and they're all got their pants down, showing their rear ends, acting like they know something and acting like they are something. But a majority, I mean, what is it? The number of like 4% of Auburn fans are on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the number is extremely low. So when you load up that stadium every weekend, there are true, real Auburn fans that they're not just out here. They might at dinner go, man, it ain't great right now. They're not on social media acting like fools.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to see is the idiots. So,
buddy, for 4%, there's a bunch of them out there. It's
loud. Yeah. It's a loud group of people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go, here's one of the red flag ones, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's different sides of Twitter. There's woke Auburn Twitter. There's, funny Auburn Twitter. There's everything. The moral high ground Auburn Twitter that has popped up this week, the anti-freezers that, were saying we knew we shouldn't have been hired. And some of these guys, I checked one that was arguing me for no reason. Like to his credit, I went back in his profile. He had been saying this, that, God, he went as far as saying is God Freeze would never be successful because God wouldn't allow people that, you saw it.
That's why we're reaping the benefits of hiring a coach with morals. But
he actually just made a reference to that God had abhorred Hugh Freeze.
That's something like
probably an eyeball. And but
I'll get it.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. That's the Auburn side Twitter that's popped up, and it's like, holy, they were just waiting for this opportunity, weren't they, to get to
Yes, I
that
mean, some
Missouri
people
loss
just want
was
some people just want to be right no matter what, you know, like
Oh yeah,
that it doesn't matter what it is. Like, oh, well, I said from the beginning I didn't want him because he's just not a good person, and then now it's coming out. So they want to be right. Now I can prove that I'm right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas
well,
I
I
whereas
mean,
I go into every week going, I hope I'm wrong. When I make a pick, like I picked Georgia, I was like, man, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Auburn wins this team. Or if I say something about the program that's negative, I go, I hope I'm wrong.
yeah.
And I just keep getting unlucky with being right.
I mean, I even said it last week. I'm worth losing a hat. I'll pick in Mizzou, but like if I lose a hat over it, I'm not gonna cry about it.
All right, so that was the recovery edition of Between Two Barns after the Missouri game. Coming up Thursday, we'll record a new one. We'll pull up some game picks. Come up with a contest over the next few days. We'll tweet about it and pick somebody that can come in here and win a new hat. We're going to welcome Rizzle in to our permanent crew here. Charlie Barner will be back for game picks, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Welcome to Between Two Barns, the recovery edition. Today you'll meet fellow Auburn addicts attempting to recover from the pain of addiction. Charlie Barner, Shark, Barner Supply, and Rizzle. We gather today in the need of recovery and support. Stop, share, and heal.
Dude, you've got to do one with domestic violence. We're in an abusive relationship with Auburn sports. You've got to do one.
Good. I love doing so. I'm just never going to let y'all know what the intros are going to be, but my goal is for it to be something different each time, even just a little hidden funny thing. Because one of my favorite things growing up was The Simpsons, and every time they went to sit on the couch at the end
Something
of the
different.
intro, there was something different.
There's always something different. Yeah.
Yes. And I just,
Mine
Dude,
run,
that Pavia last week, man. Jesus.
mine runner got me real good live once. You know, I did all those
Yeah.
mental health things. He got me so good live once because he had sponsors.